Picture this. For nearly 1,000 years, a massive stone fortress has just sat right there on the banks of the River Thames. The Tower of London is, without a doubt, one of the most iconic landmarks in human history. But behind those walls, it's hiding an unbelievable past. We're talking power, betrayal, and some incredibly dark secrets. So let's walk down those ancient stone corridors together in this explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're looking at 4 completely distinct, honestly kind of contradictory, faces of this ancient building. 1, the Conqueror's Castle. 2, a bizarre royal residence. 3, Britain's most infamous prison. And 4, treasures, ravens, and legends. So starting off with part 1, the Conqueror's Castle. Every great structure has to start somewhere, right? And the tower's origins sit right there, on the muddy banks of the Thames. Following the Norman conquest in 1066, William the Conqueror ordered the construction of the White Tower in 1078. And you really have to think about the psychology here. I mean, sure, William wanted to protect London, but mainly, he built this massive, looming structure to demonstrate absolute power. He wanted to intimidate the newly conquered English people. And over the centuries that followed, that initial fortress expanded outward into the massive, sprawling castle complex we know today.
Moving right along to part 2, a bizarre royal residence.
Now, you might think a military castle is just a military stronghold, but over the years, the tower's functions evolved wildly. It was a fortress, yes, absolutely, but it also became a luxurious royal palace, a highly secure treasury, and an infamous prison. But here's the wild part. Most surprisingly, it housed a royal zoo. Exotic animals were literally kept right on the grounds just for the entertainment of the royal family. It's such a fascinating progression when you think about it. You have this grim, terrifying royal fortress meant to strike fear into the locals, which gets softened into a lavish royal palace, and then transformed into a zoo? Just imagine the bizarre juxtaposition here. Picture an intimidated 13th century peasant looking up at this unyielding military stronghold, only to suddenly hear the roar of a lion or the screeching of an exotic monkey. It was a royal playground tucked right inside a war machine. Which brings us to section 3, Britain's most infamous prison. Because, as fun as a royal zoo sounds, the tower is definitely best known for its dark reality. It wasn't just holding common criminals. It held some of the most famous, high-status prisoners in all of history. One of those was Anne Boleyn, the second wife of King Henry VIII. In 1536, she was executed right inside the tower complex for treason. The very same walls that were meant to be a lavish royal palace became her final, inescapable cell. 9. That number punctuates another deeply tragic story at the tower, the incredibly short reign of Lady Jane Grey. Known to history as the 9 Days Queen, she was just a teenager caught up in a vicious web of royal politics. She served as monarch for exactly 9 days before she was deposed, locked away in the tower, and sent to the executioner's block. Okay, let's actually slow down for a second here, because we absolutely have to ask, what happened to the princes in the tower? This is hands down the ultimate historical cold case. Young King Edward V and his brother Richard were living in the castle in 1483, just waiting for Edward's coronation. And then they just vanished. Poof. Without a trace from one of the most heavily guarded fortresses on Earth. It remains a 500-year-old unsolved mystery. The princes were literally never seen again. Were they murdered by their uncle, Richard III, so he could steal the throne? Did someone else sneak in? Centuries later, historians are still actively debating their true fate to this day. The tower has simply refused to give up this secret. All right, let's head into section 4, treasures, ravens, and legends. Stepping out of the shadows and into the modern era, you'll be greeted by the Yeoman Warders. Formally, they're the ceremonial guardians of the Tower of London, though you probably know them by their much more playful nickname, the Beefeaters. Today, these incredible men and women are the caretakers of the site. They serve as historians, guides, and literal guards for everything kept inside. And what exactly are they guarding today? Well, it's a bizarre extreme. On one hand, you have the priceless crown jewels. We're talking glittering crowns, legendary swords, and secret coronation treasures that bring in millions of visitors every single year. But on the other, wild ravens. Superstitious, noisy birds. Why on earth are highly trained guards protecting birds alongside priceless diamonds? It all comes down to an ancient legend. If the ravens ever leave the tower, the kingdom itself will fall. That carries some serious mythological weight, right? Because of this superstition, the Beefeaters actively manage and care for a resident group of ravens at all times. They literally pamper these birds to prevent the collapse of the British monarchy. It's just this fascinating blend of solemn royal duty and pure folklore.
So, what should you actually take away from this explainer? In a word, resilience. The Tower of London has survived devastating wars. It has survived massive fires. It has stood its ground on the edge of the Thames for nearly 1,000 years. Today, it isn't just a pile of dead stones. It remains a living, breathing symbol of England's royal past. It's a monument to power, ambition, betrayal, and absolute mystery.
Which leaves us with one final thought. After 1,000 years of holding Britain's darkest secrets, what other mysteries are still waiting to be uncovered in the tower's ancient stone walls? Every time we think we know everything about this fortress, history reveals another layer. Thank you so much for joining me to uncover the secrets of the tower. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.